He's phenomenal. Armen Nahapetian, like, you are fantastic. I've seen footage of him. We've seen
So
him
have
at
I.
premieres, but is he a real person? Is he
Daniel,
just a
so have
CG
I.
double? I don't know.
Until
know.
he's behind you, in that room right now, he's not real.
Is he here? Hello and welcome to the movie podcast review of Beau is Afraid. My name is Daniel. I am one of your hosts today, and joining alongside me today are my fellow scaredy cats. It's Anthony.
Hello.
And Shahbaz.
Hello.
Oh, we're bringing the energy today. I love it. Anthony, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. This is Easter week, so there's a lot of like festivities happening in the Gagliardi house. But just can't wait to talk about Beau. Really surprising film.
Yeah, I'm very excited to talk about it. I'm glad we took some time to marinate on it a little bit because we have a lot to say about it. Shahbaz, how are you doing this weekend?
I'm also doing great. Not as much Easter festivities in my house, but definitely Ramadan is still happening right now, so I'm still fasting. I'm glad that we're recording this after I broke my fast because now I'm less hangry and I'm more calm and peaceful, and I can talk about this movie because I'm so excited.
I love it. This movie, we're talking about a bunch of different religions today on the show. We're talking about like some of the Catholics, we have the Muslim, and then we're talking about like Judaism as well too because of this movie. So we're covering everything today.
We
got
the big
three on the show
at once.
Yeah,
all three.
Exactly. Yeah. For me, thank you guys for asking. I'm doing great as well too. I love when you guys ask me how I'm doing as well.
Well, we haven't gotten to it yet.
We didn't ask you
okay.
yet, and we will.
You were still talking about Jesus.
Nope.
No, Anthony said he doesn't care. Anthony does not care.
Sorry.
No, but I am doing well. It's been a fun week. I want to thank you both. Obviously, it was my 30th birthday. This is our first review that we've done in almost a week, because the last review we did for a very similar movie was the Super Mario Brothers movie, which is about a week ago now. And it was a rare quiet week for us here on the Movie Podcast where we didn't have any other episodes or interviews drop. It literally was just the Mario Brothers movie, and then nothing else happened for a week. So very rare that happens, but it was nice to kind of get a little break, I think, too. I'm hoping you guys are feeling a little bit more relaxed as well, too, after the crazy few months we've had.
Yeah, dude, your birthday was like ridiculous. I kept
too
hearing
much
about it every
I thought we were done,
day.
and then he brings it up today.
Over
Anthony.
It's never ending.
Over and over.
Like you mentioned your birthday, and I was
himself.
like, I thought we moved on. I thought we had moved on from this day.
This is the 1 week anniversary of us celebrating it together. So I didn't want you guys to forget. But of course, this is the Movie Podcast. You could catch a brand new episode of our show all throughout the week, be it a review, an interview, or main episode of the week. Make sure you're following us on all social platforms. That's Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Letterboxd at the Movie Podcast. We have so many great things going on there. We have clips from our interviews. We have really fun videos. We have giveaways. We have contests. We have so much more. So you don't want to miss anything that we're doing. And of course, if you're watching this on YouTube, please like, subscribe, leave a comment below. Let us know if you're looking forward to Beau is Afraid. Let us know what scares you. We want to know. We want to help you through it. And of course, join our Discord. We're having some great conversations in there. There's lots of great shows and movies coming out. Let's get those conversations going. We have a really incredible community of entertainment lovers in there. And you're always welcome. Please. Episodes of the show may end, but the conversation doesn't have to stop. Make sure you join us on Discord. And of course, the movie we're talking about today is Beau is Afraid. This film is being released by A24, and of course, here in Canada is being released by Sphere Films. Thank you to them for inviting us to watch this film. We also have an interview for this film coming up later this week. So we have the one and only, the legendary Nathan Lane joining us on the Movie Podcast. So stay tuned for that. I am so excited for us to share that interview. So stay tuned. We're gonna have a lot of fun with that one. He's an absolute legend, and to have him on the show, I think makes us royalty. I think that's how it works. Royalty by association.
I believe so.
Yes, 100%. This is a very interesting film. We're going to have a lot of thoughts about it. I do want to let you know that Beau is Afraid is releasing in theaters on April 21st, and you'll be able to check it out in theaters exclusively. Now, Anthony, I'd love for you to tell us what it's all about.
A paranoid man embarks on an epic odyssey to get home to his mother in this bold and ingenuously depraved new film from writer-director Ari Aster.
Amazing. Now, we do have a giveaway going on right now for this film. So if you want to win tickets to the Toronto premiere and actually be in attendance with the director, Ari Aster, in person, make sure you go check us out on Instagram, on Twitter, even on TikTok, so you could enter that. You don't want to miss your chance for that. Beau's Afraid stars a huge cast, including already, like we said, Nathan Lane. It stars Joaquin Phoenix, Stephen McKinley Henderson, Patti LuPone, Amy Ryan, and Parker Posey. Now, Shahbaz, I would love for you to start us off and tell us your first reactions to Beau is Afraid.
Beau is Afraid is a movie that you will consistently be thinking about minutes after it's finished, days after it's finished. It will linger on the mind. It'll be deeply rooted. And this is also a tale of two films as well. I believe that, in this 3-hour epic, in this 3-hour odyssey, you're getting a lot of different things that are happening in this movie. You're getting comedy, you're getting scares, you're getting drama, you're getting it all. And Ari Aster is the only person I know that has that trademark style, that he's able to incorporate all these elements while still scaring you while you're laughing. Like, there are moments where I was like, oh my God, what I'm looking at is absolutely horrific, but why am I laughing so hard? The first hour and a half of this movie is just some of the funniest things I've seen all year. Like, we were laughing so hard that I swear at one point we were like, should we be laughing? Like, this is kind of messed up.
Yeah,
but we were laughing. We
shouldn't be laughing at this, but we have to be laughing at this, because how could somebody not laugh at this?
And what I loved about that laughter, Daniel, is that it was all about anxiety. And I mean, I believe, full transparency, all three of us have gone through some level of anxiety and probably still do. A lot of people do. Millions of people go through it. And this movie really just kind of emphasizes on all of that. It really shows you just sometimes how silly our anxieties can be, and sometimes how we just need to be tackling them head on in a certain way. And I love this movie is really, really breaking that boundary. It deals a lot with mother and son relationships too, which, I mean, a lot of people go through as well. Sometimes you have an overbearing mother, and that really, holds us down. But this movie is carried by Joaquin Phoenix, and he is phenomenal. He keeps this mellow kind of tone throughout the entire film, but you're kind of still wondering, like, what is he going to do next? Is he going to snap? Is something going to happen here? This movie's dazzlingly haunting. It's beautiful. It is one of my favorites of this year because of just how much of a ride that it can take you on.
It's really funny how you mentioned the anxiety, and we all deal with anxiety here, as so many people do. But it's so funny to see how this movie manifests it, how Beau manifests the anxiety, how he internalizes it, how he deals with it, and then how you see Joaquin Phoenix always plays it straight. There is never a time in this movie where he gives in to the absurdity of what's happening around him. He is just the straight man through it all. And I think there's no denying he is one of the greatest actors working today. Joaquin Phoenix is incredible. And this film, Beau is Afraid, is just another testament to the incredible, aptitude of his abilities. Anthony, jump on in.
My initial reaction to this film, and I remember running to Shay, I said, "What the fuck did we just watch? Like, what there was a lot of questions."
And I was beside you.
There was a lot of questions that came out of watching this film, and after a couple of days of digesting it, I came to the conclusion that I really like it. I think the film is unique in its originality, and Ari Aster, he referred to this movie as the Jewish Lord of the Rings, and I definitely see it. But for me, it's like a psychological character study as well. I feel like a lot of therapists will come out of this movie going, they'll have their little notepad and writing shit down.
Yes.
But yeah,
people who watch
therapist.
Yeah, we have to talk to our therapists after watching this.
100%. Sure. And it does feel like that. It feels like, this is an individual dealing with emotional stress, shame, and guilt that comes from, a toxic relationship with his mother. And I'm not Jewish, but I understand the concept Ari's going for here. And I know the stereotypes that he's pulling, and we've seen it in films, like that overbearingness of a mom that, you have to you will never exceed, or sometimes, you try to hit that that moment with them, and then there's no, you're
meet those expectations,
bring
right?
You down.
Never.
But as you watch the story unfold, you can't help but feel for Beau and the situations that he finds himself in. Like, truthfully, there are moments where I could clearly understand, like, there's a lot of social commentary that's happened in this movie, but there's moments where you're just, yeah, I can see this might be the world that we currently live in, and it Ari Aster does such a great job of like pulling these different types of elements in the real world and bringing them into the story to create this anxiety that even for me as a viewer was just like like that's how I felt. Like I felt like
Yeah.
I was short of breath throughout this whole film. Joaquin Phoenix's performance as Beau is captivating. You literally feel the anxiety on his face, the fear, and he just tackles the character with such honesty. And he looks so old too. Like whoever did the makeup and like the costume and everything that to build Beau is just so good. Joaquin put on weight because I know right now he's filming Joker, so he's probably like back to his like anorexic look that he created in Joker. But like you could clearly see like there's a lot more weight on him. He looks so different. And you know, Ari Aster has created a story of a character you end up caring about. Like I think that's a big thing about movies right now is like, do I care about this character that I'm watching on screen? And that's such a challenge nowadays, especially with movies that, you know, right now are 3 hours long. You know, trying to grab that attention from the audience is difficult. But what is presented to you, the originality, the story that brings the landscape and the comedy and the feeling of what happens next is what drives that attention and the curiosity. And that's kind of like where I was at this film. Because even though I was like, what the fuck was this movie about? I was so curious to understand everything about it. And it's so detailed. And again, it's like one of those movies, just like Super Mario, and I'm not comparing Super Mario to this movie.
Oh,
but it's like a lot of times where you're just pausing because everything that's placed in this movie is for a reason. It has a purpose.
nothing is
like,
an
there's
accident.
posters, there's a lot of things. There's design, there's art, there's the way it's
so
framed.
meta.
It's so meta. But yeah, like the current climate of films driven by sequels and franchises right now, and the mindless junk that you kind of ingest as like a viewer of any type of media, the conversation is, where's the originality? You know, that's, I think, where's the originality in Hollywood? And truthfully, what Ari Aster and A24 have created is something special. I think this original story will create like a cult classic for this film, and even maybe bigger. And I think, you know, who knows where this movie goes.
It's interesting because, you know, we have a film, it doesn't get more original than this, and I really do think that you know, Beau is Afraid is a film that my immediate reaction after leaving it was like, I don't know if I'm ever going to watch this movie again. And then literally I haven't stopped thinking about it since I watched it. And it really is, it's chaotic, it's anxiety inducing, and it really feels like an acid trip, but it hasn't left my mind. And, you know, that all comes from, you know, the mind of Ari Aster and obviously Joaquin Phoenix, who I think are so wonderful together. I think both of them bring this gravitas, you know, Ari on the direction and the writing side, and then Joaquin Phoenix, who I think could turn anything into gold. And having them work together, I think this is like the most Joaquin Phoenix role ever. But also every role that he does feels so personal, and it feels like it's made just for him. And I think this movie feels like it was made for Joaquin Phoenix. And literally, as I'm thinking about it, as I'm trying to like unspool it in my head, it's just you're just going back and thinking about it. And like Anthony said, I want to go back. I want to pause it. I want to go back and see these frames. And like we were saying earlier, I think Joaquin Phoenix just plays it so incredibly throughout this film that, you know, he's as captivating as he's ever been. And I also want to shout out Armen Nahapetian, who plays the younger version of him, who I think we all thought, and even the internet thought, was like a
CG?
weird CG
Yeah.
de-aged version of Joaquin Phoenix. But no, that is just how this kid looks.
Until I see him in person, I don't believe you. Until I shake this man's hand.
This kid has real uncanny valley eyes.
Oh,
I don't know if that
God.
can make sense, but like
It does.
He's phenomenal. Armen Nahapetian, like, you are fantastic. I've seen footage of him. We've seen him at premieres, but is he a real person? Is he
Daniel,
just a CG double? I don't know.
Until he's behind you in that room right now, he's not real.
Is he here? Do you remember when that, just off topic, do you remember when a couple years ago that PlayStation Showcase happened and everybody thought that the presenters in it were being rendered in real time.
Yes.
Like they're like, are these CG people? Like that's how I felt, because I'm like, this kid looks like a young. I believe that he's a young Joaquin Phoenix.
It doesn't
You know
help
what I
that
mean?
like A24 is also they're using his face as a promotion, but it's also like scattered through like this
like they're
TV,
in on
so
the
it's
joke,
like,
right? That's why.
yes,
Yeah.
100%. So you
They're-
don't know
they're in
what's
on
real
it.
or what's
There was a
fake.
tweet they put out too where somebody even said like, I thought this was a CG double, and he's like, no, like I am a real person, and he like said it like in such a scary way that I'm like, are you?
It says a lot about this movie too, because you don't know what's real. Like there's things that Beau gets into where you're just like, is this real or is this fake? It could be real because I can clearly see it in this world, but there's no way this is the situation he ends up in. There's just a lot of
There's
those.
literally every single frame of this movie, we were sitting there. I'm like, is this happening? Is this in his head? And you're second guessing yourself. And it's really fun watching a movie that way, because yes, this movie's 3 hours. Yes, there are going to be moments where I feel like the pacing really drops. And there's a sequence, more towards the second half of the film where it gets a very, just timey-wimey in your head. What's going on here? I feel like I'm on drugs. Really cool sequence, but it also, I think, really slows the pacing of this film down. So that 3 hours, I mean, that's going to be up to you if you feel like if that jives with you or not. But all I could say is, Beau's Afraid really is an odyssey of chaos. It really is just a madness. It's Ari Aster like doing what Ari Aster does best. It's just absolutely madness beginning to end. And it really is a great time. And if you're someone who struggles with secondhand embarrassment and cringe like I do, where it's hard to watch things where that as someone else is being embarrassed, you'll get that secondhand thing too. This movie is going to make you feel a lot of that. So obviously your miles may vary with that, but this movie is all the better for it, because it really is just so well made, so well constructed. And I really hope we get to see Ari Aster and Joaquin Phoenix work together again, because they are really, really incredible together.
There's a lot in this movie that is captivating, like we've talked about so far. The visuals alone, you feel like are they on a set? Is this CG? Like, what is happening? And Ari, he's always shot films so beautifully. Like when I look back to Hereditary, when I look back to Midsummer is still my favorite of his 3 films so far. I look back at it and I'm like, I can visually remember every moment of this film. While I might not remember every dialogue or every moment, but I can visually see every scene in this movie because of how beautiful it was and how it made me feel. That's the power of Ari, that he's able to inject into the visual of the movies. This is like a nightmare comedy. The whole time you're like, oh my God, what is happening? I'm so afraid, but I'm also like kind of laughing and like the hilariousness,
because you don't know what to expect with him, right? Like you've seen Midsummer, you've seen Hereditary, so you're like, is this a horror movie? It's like a psychological comedy, like we don't get too many of those. So I think us being on edge the entire time, not knowing what to expect, also enhanced our viewing experience of it, right? Because we were just like, I don't know what to expect. So you're literally almost like wincing, waiting to see what happens, which is a fun way to watch it.
And I wanted to say, like, I think the biggest thing that I took away is Ari Aster's funny. That's the uniqueness of this film, is that he's funny because he took all these things.
That's the thing, Anthony.
Was he always funny?
Horror directors are always funny. Horror directors make some of the best comedies, right?
It's true.
You look at comedy directors make some of the best horror movies as well. You look at Jordan Peele, for example. He's a hilarious person, but he's able to make really good horror films as well. And
horror and comedy are very close to each other.
Ironically,
it's just you know what I mean. It's a very fine line between horror and comedy.
Yeah.
There's an old saying that ties it together. And I'm paraphrasing it, but they're very, very close to each other. The difference is very, very minimal. But yeah, shall we get to our final recommendations for Beau's Afraid?
I just wanted to kind of touch on a couple more things. Like,
please
I want to talk about
Shahbaz. Take it away.
Parker Posey, for example. Like, she's a small blip in this film towards the end, but she leaves a huge impact, and she's kind of lingering throughout the film on Beau's mind as well. And then you have Amy Ryan, who is so good. Her and Nathan Lane are just such a great pairing. I absolutely loved hearing them kind of like go back and forth. And you also don't know what their agenda is. And man,
I still don't
there's a
know what
lot
their
about
agenda
this.
is.
We still don't know.
I like, what was this family? Like, I
And that's
just
the
don't
thing.
get it.
A second viewing of this movie is really gonna just open up those doors. I think for me, like that first hour and a half of this film, like it's such an easy watch for me that I'm like, yes, I know that, like you mentioned, Daniel, it does take a bit of a dip in the pace and kind of slows down, and it gets a lot more methodical. But I'm sure that at home that might be a bit of an easier viewing for me at that point.
Sure.
But yeah, let's get to our recommendations.
Yeah. So the quote that I was looking for, actually, Jordan Peele appears to have said it.
Oh wow.
The difference between horror and comedy is the music. You know what I mean? And I think there's a lot of different ways that you can interpolate that when it comes to Beau's Afraid. But Shay, please start us off. Give us your final recommendation for Beau is Afraid.
If you're familiar with Ari Aster's work, if you're interested at all in this film, if the trailer grabbed your attention at all, go watch this movie. I think it's a great time. I think it's a lot of fun while also touching on a lot of serious points that we're all kind of dealing with in this world of anxiety that's constantly flooding us all throughout. Be aware that it is a 3-hour runtime. So yes, it does slow down a bit, but overall, I think the experience is great. I did have someone message me on Twitter asking, can I take my family to see this movie? And I'm going to say no. I don't think it's a family film.
No, it definitely not. It's not a
Unless
Super Mario
you're like
Brothers movie.
one of these modern.
Your family's really
modern
open
families.
Yeah.
genitalia
I mean,
and things
if
like
you're
that
all
aren't an
adults,
issue.
maybe.
Maybe. I don't know. I like there's a lot more dong in this film than I expected. So I don't know if I want to take my family to see that.
Dong and the meatballs as well too.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
I don't like that you called it that.
I don't like it either. But
can I
now
report?
it's out there.
How do I report you from here?
How can I delete this episode? We could restart. I was gonna, how many days without incidents? Just gonna rub it off and put zero
Scratch
now.
it. Why do you have that board?
For myself, I'm gonna say watch it as well. Like Shay mentioned, it's a 3-hour film. Your miles may vary with that, but I really do think this is one of the most unique films that you're going to watch in a theater this year. I think this is one of the most visually, beautiful films that you are going to see in a theater this year. It is playing in IMAX, and when we first heard it was playing in IMAX, I was like, oh, that's an interesting choice. But yeah, if you could see it in IMAX, if you're into Ari Aster, if you're into just something different and you want to go to the theater for an anxiety-inducing acid trip, then hey, Beau's Afraid is right there. Go watch it. It's a really well-made film, and I think Joaquin Phoenix's performance alone is worth the price of admission for it. Go watch it. Anthony, take us home.
Yeah, this movie is shot so grand, and it also takes place in such small environments. But like the cinematographer did such a great job of like just capturing these small environments very big, and it just made it so much bigger. And I think that's why like I would love to go watch this again in IMAX. I think it just opened up the whole experience even more. But yeah, this is a definite watch it for me. I again, it's one of those movies you will come out asking a lot of questions, but I think there's those lingering questions that will kind of get in. Uh, but yeah, like you guys pretty much summed it up. It's a fantastic film. Joaquin Phoenix does an amazing job playing his character and just engrossing what it means to have anxiety and also what it means to be in a situation like he is in and trying to kind of go on this adventure to meet his mother. So yeah, it's a fantastic film. It's one of those films that is very experimental as well, so it's trying a lot of things, and I think it hit the mark.
I love it. Just to mention, Anthony, you mentioned the cinematographer Paweł Pogorzelski, who also did Hereditary, did Midsummer, did Nobody, which is a film that we really loved from a couple years ago, and also is doing Blue Beetle later this year. So there you go. So we're going to see their work later on this year. Thank you so much for listening to our review of Beau is Afraid. And I want to say thank you once again to our friends at A24 and to Sphere Films Canada for inviting us to watch this film. Don't forget to check out our interview with Nathan Lane later this week on the Movie Podcast, and hopefully we'll have some really cool news to announce very, very soon. So stay tuned for all of that and more. We have some incredible episodes, reviews, and interviews coming your way over the next couple weeks. We are headed full force into the summer movie season, so stay tuned for all of that and more. Make sure you follow us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Letterboxd at The Movie Podcast. Subscribe, like, leave a comment below on YouTube, and join our Discord. We're having some great conversations in there. And as always, that was This Time with The Movie Podcast, and we'll see you next.